Well, howdy folks, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a video that a couple of you have asked for. Once in a while I'll get the question where people will say, what equipment do you use to record in the studio? And my usual answer is something to the effect of, it's pretty underwhelming, I should do a video on it. So I'm going to do that video today, but as I just said, it's pretty underwhelming. I don't have a fancy setup. My studio is very simple, very straightforward, not a lot of high-priced items. And but you don't really need that. I mean, honestly, you don't need a big fancy studio to record your basic stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going to show you today is what I use. So all the videos that you've seen where I'm recording stuff, living on Tulsa time, living on Tulsa time, have been done with this setup. If I go on location and I do just a quick video on location, then I'm probably just using the internal mic inside the camera or something like that. But this is when I'm actually recording studio stuff. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to go through the components that I have. Again, nothing too fancy, but let's see it. Okay, so we'll start here in the middle with the heart of the setup. And this is my iMac. This is the computer that I run my software on. I've actually got the software open, and if you can recognize that, that's GarageBand, which is the free recording software, digital audio workstation software. So I'm not using anything fancy. I'm not using Cubase or Pro Tools or anything like that. I just use GarageBand for all my recordings. And so this is kind of the heart of it all. Now, by the way, this is a Retina 4K iMac if you're curious on the model, and it's completely stock. The only thing I've done is upgrade the RAM. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM in it. But other than that, it is just your stock everyday 4K iMac. And then you can see underneath there, hopefully you can see it's kind of shadowy, but I've got a tape deck, a dual cassette deck, and that is actually hooked up, so I can use that to bring tape audio or to record stuff to tape if I want to warm it up or what have you. And then over here to the left, you see a mixer. Now this is my Yamaha MG10-2. These mixers, they don't make these anymore. They make a very similar model, but this is a fantastic sub mixer. I love this thing. And here's why. If you're into things like, you know, electronic instruments and stuff, this thing has, look at how many stereo inputs it has. The first two are mono, the two on the far left are mono, and all the rest are stereo. So this is, you know, got quite a few possibilities. It's a really good mixer, and the preamps that are in here sound really good. And when these were new, I think they were like $120 or something when they were new. They weren't a very expensive mixer, but they're just really powerful. It has an effects send return that's probably hard for you to see. And again, you can see the in-out there with the RCA cables that go to the tape deck. But it does have an effects send return, and I send that over to here to the Boss RV6. That is my main reverb that I use for my sub mixes. Now the reason I'm calling out the sub mixes is because I don't feed this mixer directly into the digital audio workstation. I feed this mixer over here into the audio interface. So you can see these two cables right here coming in. Those are coming from that mixer. So if I need to mix multiple tracks, like in something like, let's say I have a drum machine and a keyboard or something, and I'm mixing those, then I can bring them in on one track into the mixer, and then I can still do multi-track inside of the software, of course. But very simple. And so over to my interface, this is a Presonus AudioBox 44. This is also discontinued. They no longer make these, but this is a fairly inexpensive audio interface. It has 4 inputs there on the front, as you can see. And you can see this one is plugged in over here. It's going off to my AT2020. And I've talked quite a bit about this mic in some of my previous videos. I really like the AT2020. It's a great mic. Sounds good. It's very useful. That's what most of my vocals and things are recorded with, is this AT2020 mic. I really like this thing. Okay, and so that also is plugged in right here. But that is what then via USB goes over here into the Mac. So that's how I get all my audio into the Mac, and actually out of too. Now, because this is a audio interface, so it also has the outputs, and the outputs from here go to this pair of KRK Rocket 5s that I have, and you can see there's one on each side of the computer there. So those are what I use for my audio monitoring. Now I also have these Rocket 5s paired with the KRK sub, which is underneath the desk. I'm not gonna jump down and make you guys dizzy by trying to crawl underneath the desk. I'll just put in a photo later to show you that. But so basically the output signal comes out of the audio box here, goes into the sub, and then comes from the sub up into the main monitors here, and that is how I get my audio. Additionally, I also send a headphone mix over to here, and here's my main set of mixing headphones. This is Audio-Technica ATH M45. Great headphones. You can see these are pretty worn. I've had these for quite a few years, so they've been around a minute. But that is basically my setup. That is basically my recording setup. It's very simple. Any sub mixing, you know, if I'm bringing in sampling, anything like that is going to come through this mixer. Then everything comes into the Mac through this audio interface right here. Everything comes out through the Rocket 5s there, and then the subwoofer underneath. Everything is done here in GarageBand, the free software. And then one other thing that I should show you real quick, I also have this Oxygen 25 keyboard. So one of the other things that I like about GarageBand is it has the Alchemy software built in, the plugin. So you can see here, I've got one pulled up. This one is called Cosmic Arp Cycles. And so I've got a track open for that. And so because I have this keyboard linked here, then I can just play something here and you should hear the Alchemy. So there's a lot that you can do just with some of these software instruments. Additionally, I have the control surface mapped. So like all of these knobs respond to a parameter in GarageBand. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I move this knob, you can see it's sending data there by the numbers. But now I'm going to point this over at the Mac screen and show you what it's doing. As I turn that knob, you can see that volume slider moving. So I've got it mapped to change the volume. So I can do all of my, you know, mixing on tactical knobs as opposed to trying to do it with a mouse. Additionally, I have some other things mapped, like the main one here I have mapped to the slider. I know you can't see it, but as I move this, it'll move the main volume. So it's cool what you can do with all these extra knobs and switches and buttons and stuff. Like I have all these mapped as well, of course, to play, stop, all of that. So I can, you know, if I'm recording something and I want to punch in, I can just hit record right here and just punch in. So some of those little things that I've just learned from recording over the years that make it simple and fun. Okay, so there you go, folks. There was a tour of the studio here and the gear that I use. And again, it's not meant to be impressive. I use some very modest gear, but it works. And that's the thing with a lot of, you know, today, if you get a computer, an interface, and a couple other accessories, you can make a really great sounding music studio for not a lot of money. So, but there you go. That's what I use. And thanks for tuning in today. I know no music in this video. I was just kind of giving a little tour here. But I will see you guys on Sunday for another Sunday song.